Hello everyone, welcome to my Live2D tutorial. My name is Sharkbait, and for this episode I'm going to be going over the very basics about Live2D to generally make these tutorials beginner friendly. I'll be teaching you things like parameters, how to organize your project, importing your PSD file, stuff like that. So please stay tuned to learn the very basics of Live2D. I'm going to be using the Pro version for Live2D. It's around $16, I think. I definitely recommend if you really want to get serious about Live2D, or if you're just doing it like as a little hobby, then using the free version is perfectly fine. It just has a lot of restrictions on what you can do. But if you want to use Live2D for commissions, or if you want to make streaming as a VTuber your career, then I definitely recommend that you invest in the Pro version. So let's open up our file. I have it already saved into a very specific folder that I wanted it to be saved in. But even if you have it saved to your general documents folder, that's completely fine. I just like to be organized with all of my stuff. Also, I just want to point out too that you don't have to have Photoshop in order to have a PSD file. I work with Medibang Paint, and Medibang gives me the option to export a project as a PSD file. So I think that's pretty cool. And it also, like a PSD file comes with all of your layers intact and everything. It won't work if you just have a PNG or a JPEG. It won't work because as a flat image, you need a PSD file so that you can have all of your layers intact. And when you are working in your art program, you should keep in mind the names of your layers, because that will come in handy if you name each and every individual layer, so that you know what every piece is, since the names carry over into Live2D. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the PSD file and you're just going to drag and drop it over into Live2D. It's that simple. And I'll even go over every single layer and how I've broken it up. So right here we have my subject, which is the chibi version of my model. You use the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out, and then you hold space and click and drag to kind of pan around your canvas. So I divided up side hair, front hair, mask shadow, which is this piece right here. I have to separate the shadow from the hair, otherwise it won't work properly. I have both eyebrows separated and the nose, top lip, bottom lip, and then inside of that I have top teeth, bottom teeth, which I think I'm going to move down in a bit. And then below that I have the inner mouth, and my model doesn't have a tongue, but most other models will. So if your character has a tongue, you will include that in these layers too. And then bottom eyelid and top eyelid for both sides of the eyes. For both right and left, you want to separate them. So in case you want your model to wink, it'll just work better if you separate them too. And then for the irises and the eyes, I separated each and every individual highlight, along with the pupils and the irises and the eye sockets. It gives me more freedom of movement with the eyes, and plus I can give them little physics if I wish to as well. And my character does not have eyelashes, but if yours does, you might want to separate the eyelashes from the eyelids too, if you want to give the eyelashes some more motion and physics as well. I have the head and mask separated, and then I separated each and every individual ear along with the emote stuff as well. So I separated all the individual parts of the skull, but normally you wouldn't. The skull would just be one piece. But I like to be extra with my stuff, I guess. So for the other parts in the body, I separated the collar pieces and the bow pieces, along with the buttons and the vest link. I also separated this vest line in the middle so that when the body turns, it'll look just more dynamic. I also separated the shadows on the buttons, and then there's the vest piece itself. And then I separated each and every individual ear lace, you know, where it goes like, where it makes a loop right here. I separated those for physics in the future. And then I separated these pieces, and then I separated the leg and the arms. I also have the heels as separate pieces too. I want to let you guys know that with a normal model, you would generally separate the bottom half of the leg with the top half and the bottom half of the arm with the top half, for more ease of motion so you could bend at the joints. But since this is just a simple chibi model, I just stuck those pieces together. But keep in mind, for bigger non-chibi models or chibi models with joints, you're going to want to separate the thigh from the calf and the bicep from the forearm. Oh, and you're also going to want to generally separate the foot from, you know, the feet and the hands too, but I don't have those separated on this one. I also separated this shadow, and then I have the back of the hair, along with the halo and the individual tail pieces. I'm going to go ahead and delete this background one since it's not necessary. We are going to make it into a texture atlas. The width and height, you can edit that after the fact, but it depends. Like, you want it to be big enough to fit all of your pieces. So let's select OK. Okay, we have everything on the texture atlas. Since these were hidden, since they're emotion things, we're just gonna add those in. I just double click them to add them in. Let's see, let's go to automatic layout. It's usually the first thing you'll do after you import your model. And there we have the texture atlas. It seems to be working properly. Then we'll click OK. And now it just has to set everything up. So we give it some time to load everything. Okay, now that that's done, keep everything selected. Now we're going to, let's see if the hidden ones, no, they're not selected. Let's select these hidden ones as well. What I basically did there was I clicked the top thing in the list, held shift, scrolled down, and then clicked the bottom thing, and it selected everything. So now we're gonna auto mesh everything. So up here, you just click this button that says auto, then do standard preset, and give it a moment so that it gives everything an art mesh. And then there you go. Now everything has an art mesh. So basically an art mesh, it's how everything gets deformed. So let's say, for example, I click this and move this point right here. It moves that spot of the art. It helps you be able to deform everything the way you want it to when you're working in Live2D. Some things need heavy art meshes. Another preset is a heavy art mesh. I just like to give everything a standard at first. And then once I get to that piece, like say for the lips, for example, I can just change it later on. It's no problem. Let's go ahead and save. I'm going to use the shortcut Control S, or you could go up here and click File Save. So I'm just going to save this. And let's make a new folder for this one. Let's call it Chibi Model. Okay, now we're gonna save it in this one. Let's change the name over here to Chibi Model. We're gonna save it. and give it a moment to save. Okay, there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to organize everything. So what I like to do is I like to put everything into different folders, group them together, so that everything's just nice and easier to find generally, because there's a lot of layers here and it would be very painful to try to search for things in this mess. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the hair in its own folder. We can include the shadows for the hair in that folder too. So I shift clicked for this one, but you can also control, let me find the rest of the hair, control click to include things lower down in the list, control click, and that appears to be all of the hair pieces. I'm going to put them in a folder and call it hair. And then we're going to go, okay. So you see how this messed up right here? That's no problem at all. Don't freak out if that happens. That's where this thing called draw order comes in handy. So you see this hair shadow right here, and the back hair is not where it's supposed to be. And so what we're going to do is we're going to select both of them, and we're going to alter this draw order, scale it back until it's at the very end of the list. I'm just going to pick, let's pick 450, and then we're going to go to the halo, and then push that behind 450, let's say 445, so that it's behind the hair. So draw order is exactly how it sounds. It's the order of things. They all defaults to 500, but you can scale it back and forward and kind of mess around with it until all of the pieces are in the right spots. Sometimes it can be kind of difficult to do this at first because it can kind of get confusing, but just keep messing around with things until everything's in the right spot. It'll get that way eventually, so don't worry about that. I'm going to put everything in folders, and then I'll be back and go over how I organize the folders. Okay, so I organized everything in their own folders. Now that looks like a much better and much shorter list. So I have the hair. I have everything in the hair organized. I have all of the emotes organized. I have the brows. The nose. The nose is just one thing, but I went ahead and put it in its own folder anyways. And I have all the mouth pieces organized. I have every piece for the eyes organized. If you want to be extra organized, you can separate these in their own little subfolders, like the eyelids, the highlights, the pupils, and stuff like that. But I didn't. You can if you want to. It's all personal preference. And then I organized the head pieces, the ears, the emotes for the skull, and the skull itself, all the eye pieces for that, because I'm going to make it blink with me, which is just an extra thing I personally like to do. Collar, bow pieces, the buttons, which I included the vest link and the button shadow for that. The vest, which is the vest and the vest line. The laces, which is just these little pieces down here. Let me push this up. These little pieces right here, the loops and the laces. And then for the legs, I included the legs, these pieces right here, and the heels. And then the arms. And then the halo is its own little folder. And then all of the pieces from the tail, which I've separated from the base of the tail and these two tail fins. Hopefully with the purpose of making it swing back and forth. But we'll see how that goes. And so now we have all of that organized. We're going to organize our parameters. So angle X, Y, Z is the head parameters. It's what makes the head move side to side, up and down, and then what makes the head tilt as well. So we're going to select those and make their own folder. Move that into that folder. And we're going to name this folder head. And so I open, I smile, I open, I smile, eyeball. These are all eye parameters. So basically, eye open is what makes it blink. I smile, it changes the eye shape whenever you smile. This is optional, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And these eyeball parameters right here, it's what makes your eyes look around. It follows your eye tracking. So we're gonna make a new folder, and we're gonna put all of these things in that folder. And we're gonna name it eyes. Let's just close these folders for sake of organization. And so all of these eyebrow parameters are gonna go in one folder as well. So these parameters right here makes the eyebrows go up and down, back and forward. I don't use the X parameters for that because why would your eyebrows go side to side? What I use instead is the angle, which makes it look angry and sad, and the form, which changes the shape of the eyebrow depending on where they are on your face. So we're going to make another folder and put all of this stuff in that folder. And we're going to name it brows. And so all of this stuff right here has to do with your mouth. And I'll go over mouth forms in greater detail later on. So let's make a new folder for the mouths. Mouth. Okay. I'll put that stuff in there. And then this stuff has to do with the body. What makes your body tilt, move side to side, and up and down. So we're going to make a folder for that. Since what you rig first is the body, we're going to move this folder up here. Since that's what we're going to rig first, we're going to call it body. Let's put the breath in there too. Let's put the breath in body. And then I don't use these parameters for the hair. I make my own. So let's just make a new folder and call it hair. I'm gonna delete these parameters since we're gonna be making our own for the hair physics and stuff like that. So that covers the very basics of Live2D, how to import the parameters and what they're for, how to organize. On the next episode, I'm going to be beginning the process of rigging the model. And I'll talk to you about deformers and how exactly to work with your parameters. So stay tuned for next time. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful to you on how to get started with your project.